Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're back here with the FOA Coil-overs. The other day I did kind of a unboxing first impressions video. Well, today we're going to dive in a little bit deeper, so stick around. All right, guys. So in the little unboxing, first impressions video, I had mentioned that in about 6 months or so, when I'm done with the Jeep, I'm going to get it out on the trail and run it through its paces and come back to you guys and give you guys a really good review on, the good, the bad, and the ugly on these, right? Well, unfortunately, we're not going to make it that far. Yeah. So there's a few reasons that these are not going to be going in my Jeep. And that's pretty unfortunate. Mainly because of, the money I have invested in them. But, overall, we're going to go through it, and I think you're going to kind of see why, it's better to lose money at where I'm at with this than it is to, kind of keep going. So first and foremost, these have been sitting here since that little first impressions video I did. And I haven't really done anything. The only thing I did was I removed a rod end, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. But basically, my point to the fact that they've been sitting here is they're leaking from pretty much everywhere. So the big thing to point out with the fact that they're leaking is the fact that they're not charged with nitrogen, meaning these not being under pressure, just sitting here, fully extended, just right here laying down, they probably have their best chance at sealing that they're ever going to have in their life. And they're leaking, which can kind of attest to, how good their seals are, which is, a big reason why, I'm kind of throwing in the towel on them. I'm going to run down through some of the other things real quick. I'm not going to, have you guys go back and watch the other video. The first thing that I noticed when I unboxed them was how rough and bad cut the threads were. At that moment, I didn't really think about that in a whole, just like, oh man, that's some really bad machining on the threads. And my first number one concern with that was, your wear and tear items, which made me immediately realize like how cheap and chintzy this thing feels. I compared it to the one off my Kings, and I mean, just my Kings are a little bit older. They were back when they were still using the little stubby style. I think they've moved to the long ones now, but I mean, that one being half the size felt like twice the weight, and this thing is very cheap feeling. And this running up and down, I could just imagine these threads, as rough as they are, just wearing this thing out super quick. And I was like, well, maybe I can run some emery cloth over these and smooth them out, and then I could also upgrade the slider. Now that's an added cost, and then it also was a problem that I had with these also is that I don't like this style of adjuster ring. Like these nuts are, they're the clamping style. So you got these two little machine screws that you tighten down and it clamps it down around the threads. I don't like that. These little machine screws, like, they just strip out so easy. I'm just not a fan of that. It's just a bad design in my opinion. And I had mentioned like, oh well, like I have some of the jam nut style from my Kings laying around because I had an extra set that I had bought, and I could see and it's a big if these threads are the same, but I was like, well, I could maybe see if those will fit this. But, I also thought about that. I'm like, that's an added cost to these. And cost is a big factor in a lot of this, right? That was the whole reason I went with these. So Then the next thing was, so with these bottom spring plates, I don't like this design. I don't like this design at all. So basically, it's got less than a quarter inch on the bottom. That's like a little cup that basically this goes down and over your rod and then slides down, and you have spring pressure that's holding this on that little groove so it can't come off. Now, the thing with rock crawlers is especially a YJ or a CJ or a TJ, so a lightweight rig like that, you're going to be running pretty lightweight springs. Like, yes, you're going to put some preload on them, but you're not going to have a lot of pressure when you're under full extension. So meaning, like, if you're articulating up a rock, you got a tire hanging and then you bounce it off a rock, there's the chance of just a little bit of chatter on this where maybe this pops up and over. And the idea of this groove, I mean, will it happen? I mean, the likelihood's very minimal, but the idea that it can happen, it's just a poor design. Like Fox and King, they're just a hole in the center, and you slide it over the end, you put a C-clip on it, and that's what holds it on. So it's a much better design. I also pointed out the hoses are just standard hydraulic line, which is fine. It's definitely cheaper than braided, which comes on Fox and King. Not a big deal. I mean, obviously you're saving a little bit of money. You kind of expect something like this. This would hold up fine. I don't think that there'd be any issues with this. The stainless, the braided stainless will definitely be stronger and probably outlast this, but this would still be fine. So it didn't bother me too much. Then I got into the rod ends, and that's actually the one that's okay. I don't know if you guys can hear this. I know in the other video, it was pretty noticeable. This one's comical. This one rattles around inside there. It's so loose, it's not even funny. The more I thought about, like, as that video went on, and then even after, starting with the threads and mentioning the bad machining of the threads, it's just bad machining overall. Like I was talking about in the other video with these rod ends, like, I'll just get in touch with them and see if they could send me replacements because they're rebuildable. You can take out the C-clip and take out the actual center and replace it. But the issue is beyond that. It's the machining on the actual end that holds the center, the actual like spherical bearing that's inside of it. It's just cut wrong. They're machined wrong. They should not be loose in there like that. And it was just like hit after hit with these, and the more I thought about it, the more I don't want to take a chance on it. I want to cut my losses. And that kind of gets me into like what I was talking about with, all the little things that cost money to kind of bring these to where I'm happy enough to run them. It just added up to too much. These were I think they were like a little over $9 to $9.50 range. But they charged me $157 for shipping. So now, and that was total. So it was like $950 with shipping. But like I said, that was a charge. So it was $157 in shipping. And then they want me to pay shipping to send them back. So whatever all that costs, the shipping, I'm out. I get back whatever the difference is. Now, if I go with like Fox 2.0 with reservoirs from AccuTune, they're $1,250, $1,250 and some change. So the difference is roughly around $300. So like when you start to think about that savings, but you start adding up these, like getting a better slider or changing out this style of clamp ring, with, the jam nut style, or the time in sending these back so we can fix the ridiculous oil leaks that are everywhere. Or like the rod ends, whether it be the time that I take to rebuild them, which will not solve the problem. I need actual new rod ends. I still have to take these apart and spend the time to replace those. The design that I'm not happy with the bottom spring plate, it just added up to just too much, where it's just not worth it to me. I would much rather cut my losses, take a little hit, and have something that I believe in the end. So, as unfortunate as that is, I hate to have it be that kind of video. But I would love to hear your guys' opinions, your thoughts. If you have any stories on your own experiences with FOA, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. But until next time, guys, hopefully you'll like, subscribe. Till then, take care.